Desk, we're on it. Ooh! Just TC'd, but he's gonna keep going. 10-4, Jamie, thank you. And thank you to all of you who are joining us here from News Chopper 4 Alpha. I'm Eliana Moreno, along with my pilot, Derek Bell, over a police pursuit. This is the LAPD Mission Division in pursuit of a stolen vehicle. That vehicle is a older model Toyota Corolla, blue in color. You see it there, completely blacked out here on surface streets in the Pacoima area. This is a pursuit that only started about 5 minutes ago, and this suspect has already TC'd, or crashed rather, into another vehicle head on. And you're not seeing the night sun because officers are in what is called surveillance mode, which means that there are going to be no units directly behind the suspect, and the air unit is going to keep its night sun off so that the suspect will feel that he is no longer being pursued, and in so doing so, hopefully he will slow down his speeds and will start to drive in a calmer fashion. But for now, it does not appear to be working. He's currently on Paxton, coming up to Arleta, and let's see what way he goes. Paxton is just south of the 118 freeway, and he's making another turn here, a southbound turn onto Arleta Avenue. And I say he, but at this point, it's unclear whether the suspect driver is a male or a female. And at this point, it's also unclear, a red light coming up there, but it's going to turn. It's also unclear how many people may be in the vehicle. Tess, go ahead. Nothing? Okay, great. Back with you guys here again in News Chopper 4 Alpha. You may have a little bit of a difficult time seeing the vehicle there without his lights on, without the night sun on, but we will track him for you, putting his brakes on right there as he comes up to light, I believe, because you see that other vehicles there were also braking, and he is in fact coming up to the light, setting up here for a left-hand turn onto Woodman Avenue. Woodman is actually a street that he has been on before. We've heard about him on Woodman before we took off in News Chopper 4 Alpha. So this is perhaps a street that he is familiar with as he continues here, and I'm fixing my roll here real quick. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect in an older model Toyota Corolla, a pursuit that started in the LAPD's Mission Division now at about 10 minutes ago. Officers tried to pull the suspect over. I first heard about it when it was a following, which is usually what precedes a pursuit. That is when units get behind the vehicle and attempt to pull the suspect over. However, in this case, the suspect failed to yield and the pursuit was on. The airship got overhead within minutes, and now this is a pursuit from essentially the helicopter only. It's what is called surveillance mode to try to keep the suspect to slow his roll, calm down in the way he is driving. At this point, again, it doesn't seem to be working too well. He's continuing to drive at high speeds. He already collided with another vehicle and continues to run red lights and stop signs. He is now on Van Nuys Boulevard with a cross of Vesper, kind of taking a wide turn there. And at this point, again, it's unclear how many people may be in the vehicle, but this is at least one person, of course, but it's unclear as to the gender of that person. And it's also unclear when the vehicle was stolen. Red light coming up with some cross traffic, but he missed that, managed to dodge that as he continues here southbound on Van Nuys Boulevard with a cross of Gled Hill Road, what is a residential area for the most part. You have apartment complexes on either side of the road. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect with an LAPD pursuit originating out of the Mission Division area. Red light coming up. Let's see what happens as he comes up to the light. And he's going to go with the flow of traffic here. He's going to make the turn. And you saw the night sun there for a moment because the officers realized that the surveillance mode really isn't working at this point because the suspect continues to drive at an erratic rate of speed. And so they're going to turn the night sun back on and going to get the units directly behind this guy yet again because being in surveillance mode did not get him to go any slower. So now the units are joining back in. I am seeing at least 2 there. I'm hearing that there are 3 units that are authorized in the pursuit, and there you go. There is the 3rd unit joining the pursuit. The night sun overhead as the suspect continues now westbound here, Nordoff with a cross of Noble. Yeah, high speeds. I should point that out. About 75 miles an hour was the fastest we clocked him at. He's currently at about 60 miles an hour, and this is on surface streets, so you can imagine what the speeds should be through this area. Normally it's about 35. He's got a lot of traffic coming up, so let's see what he does here as he comes up to the intersection with the 405 freeway coming up there. That was his chance to get on northbound, but it looks like he's trying to position himself to go southbound. So he may be going southbound there. Nope, going to continue on straight. It looked like he was going to try to get onto the southbound on-ramp of the 405, but is instead going to continue straight, continuing westbound here, coming up to a busy intersection there, is going to just swerve around the vehicles that were waiting for the light there, straddling that center divider line as he continues westbound here, Nordoff with a cross of Haskell. And we first pricked up this pursuit when it was already on surface streets, but before we got overhead, he was on the 170, and then he got onto the northbound 5 before getting onto the 118 and then exiting. And then he was on surface streets in the Pacoima area, but is now getting away from that area. He's roughly at Nordoff with a cross of Gothic Avenue at a high rate of speed. I'm clocking him at about 70 miles an hour. You see the night sun overhead, green light coming up for him, so that's definitely good, because when he comes up to a red light, he just blows right through it. So at least he got a green light on that one with no cross traffic in the way. But we do have a red light coming up with cross traffic ahead, so I'll widen out the shot just a touch so that we can see as he enters that intersection. But let's see if he doesn't turn before he gets there. There's the intersection and blows right through that red light at Nordoff with a cross of Balboa. So we're going to reposition ourselves a little bit here to get you a little bit closer to the vehicle. But he is currently on Nordoff with a cross of Aldea. Louise, it would be the major. North Hills is the area. A stolen vehicle suspect in a blue Toyota Corolla, older model. A pursuit that started in the LAPD's Mission Division. We believe at this point it is one suspect, but that is information that will be revealed to us in detail once this pursuit does come to an end and the officers do make call outs to the vehicle to see how many suspects may actually be inside. But he's putting the brakes on here as he comes up to the intersection. I believe he's going to have a red light coming up, but he's going to turn before he gets there. Nope, he decided against it. Now, wrong side of the road here on Nordoff with a cross of White Oak. Again, wrong side of the road, and there's really no reason for it. He doesn't have any traffic on his side of the road and is now maneuvering back to the right side of the road. You see the night sun there overhead from the LAPD police helicopter, who is monitoring this pursuit from the air, and you have the units on the ground who are also behind this suspect. Coming up to a busy intersection here at Nordoff and Lindley is going to make a southbound turn. That is a left-hand turn there onto Lindley Avenue, and is now going to go southbound Lindley. Again, a residential area. There you can see that there are homes on either side of the street, as well as apartment complexes. And he continues to be blacked out. We see his rear lights there, though, but either he's blacked out or he has very dim lights. Again, an older vehicle believed to be stolen. A pursuit that started now at about 15-20 minutes ago in the LAPD's Mission Division. Continuing southbound and continuing to blow through every stop sign and red light that he comes up to, currently at about 60 miles an hour. And he's in the Northridge area, so essentially he's south of Cal State Northridge. Green light coming up, and he's going to turn. So he's going to turn here onto Roscoe Boulevard, making a westbound turn. That's a right-hand turn. You see the night sun overhead. 3 units of the LAPD's Mission Division behind him. And just to talk a little bit about the pursuit tactics that they have available to them. They can try a pit maneuver. This is a vehicle that is smaller in size. And the LAPD units of the Mission Division are pit equipped. They're able to, they're pit trained. They're able to do a pit maneuver if the situation calls for it. Green light coming up here. And the other thing to take into consideration is they could try a spike strip. But at this point, he doesn't really have a pattern, which is what makes it a little bit difficult to put a spike strip ahead of him. Simply because he really hasn't been on the same streets over and over again. He has been on Roscoe before, which is the street he's on now, but it was further east, closer to the Arleta area, and he's currently in Northridge on Roscoe, coming up to Wilbur Avenue at approximately 35 miles an hour, and now making a southbound turn on to Wilbur. Really picking up speed here on Wilbur, about 65 miles an hour. And you see just that one headlight on the left side of the vehicle. The right headlight looks like it gave out when he collided with that other vehicle earlier on in the pursuit. It was almost a head-on collision, but somehow he was able to keep going. And the pursuit has been going ever since now with a red light ahead. So I'll widen out just a touch so we can see what he does when he approaches that intersection. I found that when he has a green light, he actually turns, and then when he has a red light, he does somewhat try to clear the intersection and then proceed through. So let's see what he does when he comes up to this next red light. And it just turned green on him, so he was able to continue on through without issues on Wilbur with a cross of Satakoy in the Reseda area. Continuing south on Wilbur here, approaching Sherman Way. That's going to be your next big major here. Red light coming up on that intersection if he makes it that far. So we'll see what he does. I'll widen out the shot just a touch. Oh, that was, so close. Oh my gosh. So close there on Sherman Way, not with one car, but with two. And somehow he managed to weave through without incident and continue southbound here on Wilbur, south of Sherman Way. Red light ahead coming up, and it just turned green for him, so it should be green by the time he gets there. Southbound on Wilbur with a cross of Van Nuyen, going through the green light there. And it's the LAPD's Air 10 helicopter overhead monitoring this pursuit from above. They went into surveillance mode for a while to try to get him to slow down his speeds and calm himself down in the way he was driving, but it doesn't seem to be working. So for that reason, they got units back behind him, and they put the night sun back on the suspect, and his driving has been pretty much the same ever since. Wrong side of the road here, back right side on the road on Wilbur, coming up to Sylvan Street, an older model blue Toyota Corolla rather, and I just actually heard on the scanner they did just confirm that it is one occupant in the vehicle, so that answers the question we had before as to how many suspects may be in the car. They believe that it is in fact just one person who is behind the wheel of this stolen car. Making an eastbound turn here from onto Oxnard from Wilbur. You see the LAPD directly behind the suspect and the night sun on the suspect vehicle. And just to recap how this all started, we first heard about this when it was a following, when we were monitoring our scanners back at Whiteman Airport. The pursuit, or rather the following, quickly turned into a pursuit when the suspect failed to yield to authorities after they tried to pull him over once they realized that the vehicle was stolen. It's unclear how they realized it, though, whether they ran the plates and that's how they realized it, or if they were already looking for a vehicle matching this description that had been stolen. So the pursuit was on. It made its way from Roscoe onto the 170 freeway, followed by the 5 North, and then the 118 East, where he exited onto surface streets, and he's been on surface streets ever since. He's had the opportunity, though, to get onto the freeway. He had a chance to get onto the 405, and he chose not to. So is continuing here on surface streets on Reseda with a cross of Victory at approximately 75 miles an hour. The suspect has already collided once with another vehicle. It was almost a head-on crash. That's how he lost that front right headlight. The left one is really all he's got left, but there's been times when he's blacked out completely and has turned the lights off. And according to the information that we got on the police scanner, it is a sole occupant, so just one person in the vehicle. We do believe that it is a male, but we of course will confirm that when the pursuit comes to an end. An older model blue Toyota Corolla has been leading officers now on a chase for about the last 20 to 25 minutes, and now about 70 miles an hour here on Reseda, coming back up to Sherman Way, a street that he has been on before, but is continuing through Sherman Way. Wrong side of the road here for just a moment as he tries to maneuver back to the right side of the road. He was just trying to avoid some of that slower moving traffic, kind of just straddling the north and south sides of Reseda Boulevard here. Approaching Saticoy here on Reseda. Let's see what he does when he comes up to the intersection. Slowing a little bit for that pedestrian who just managed to get out of the way just in time. Continuing northbound Reseda through Saticoy, coming up to Keswick, and a little bit of traffic up ahead of him. I don't know if you guys noticed, but back at that intersection, there was an officer who was holding the traffic that was going east-west to avoid having a collision between the suspect and the vehicles that were heading east-west at that intersection. So that's the first time I've seen an officer stage up ahead of the pursuit to try to block some traffic. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing more of that now that he has been on Roscoe Boulevard for quite a while here, northbound on Roscoe, coming up to Kantara Street in the Reseda area, but heading back into the Northridge area. And he may be turning here. And there he is, making an eastbound turn on to Roscoe from Reseda. Wow, really picking up speed here. Difficult to keep up with him. You can see the airship is trying to keep his night sun over him, but the suspect is really picking up speed here, about 75 miles an hour on Roscoe with a cross of Lindley. They could try going into surveillance mode again, which is when they turn the night sun off and pull the units off of the suspect vehicle and just follow it from the helicopter. But that didn't seem to work last time, which is why they re-engaged. And he's got a lot of traffic coming up ahead at Balboa, the intersection of Roscoe and Balboa. So we'll see what he does when he gets there. When he's encountered traffic before, he tends to go on the wrong side of the road to avoid it. So when he gets back into that intersection, I'll widen it out a bit so we can watch that. But I'm actually hearing on the scanner that the officers are likely going to go back into tracking mode, which again is the surveillance mode. It's another word for it, which means that we won't see any units directly behind the suspect. They're still going to be in the area, but they're going to keep their distance, and the helicopter will keep his light off so that the suspect will essentially think that he is no longer being pursued and will slow his roll, making a turn here northbound on Balboa with a cross of Roscoe. Stolen vehicle suspect continuing to lead LAPD officers on a fast-moving chase through the surface streets of Reseda, Northridge, and Arleta. The last time they went into tracking mode, he did black out the vehicle, and it doesn't seem like he's doing that this time around. So at least that'll make it easier to keep tabs on his location. Continuing here, northbound Balboa, coming up to Rayen Street. Nordoff is the next major coming up. Green light up ahead. There's the intersection. Let's see what he does. And sure enough, he's going to turn. And the air unit's actually going to switch out with another unit, likely for fuel reasons. So they're switching out right now, but they're continuing to watch this pursuit. The next air unit that arrives on scene will take over, because again, this is now a pursuit that is a tracking mode only, surveillance only. There's another traffic stop there unrelated to the pursuit that is taking place here. And now the suspect is on the wrong side of the road on Nordoff, coming up to Havenhurst. And again, really no reason for him to be on the wrong side of the road. It's just a matter of choice, because his side of the road is actually wide open. So there's really no reason for it. Continuing here, eastbound Nordoff, coming up to Gothic Avenue. Coming up to the North Hills area is where he's entering here. Still in what is called tracking or surveillance mode. LAPD airship is turning off its light, so we won't see the night sun over the suspect vehicle. Through Woodlake here on Nordoff. Again, a stolen vehicle suspect, believed to be the only person in the car. A pursuit that started, I want to say, at around 8:30 or a little bit before then. Started as a following, which is very typical of what would lead to a pursuit. And we have a red light coming up, so I'm going to go ahead and widen out when we get there. Nordoff coming up to Haskell. And it just turned green for him, so he was able to proceed through. I'm starting to hear them talk about the possibility of deploying a spike strip. Of course, we won't give you the location, because there's a possibility that somebody could relay that information to the suspect, and we, of course, would not want to relay that information to him. So he's in traffic behind. Oh, there we go. Just collided with that white van and is going to keep going. So that's his second hit and run during the course of this pursuit. That happened at Nordoff and the 405 freeway. Again, that happened on Nordoff and the 405 freeway, just under the 405 freeway on Nordoff. He was heading eastbound when he collided with that white van and somehow was still able to keep going. His second collision during the course of this pursuit, his second hit and run, in addition to, of course, being in a stolen vehicle and leading these officers on a wild high-speed chase here on surface streets, now in the North Hills area. Officers are asking for permission to re-engage in the pursuit because of that last traffic collision that he just caused. So he just made a turn there. He's headed on southbound Sepulveda. And coming up to Nordoff again, which is essentially where he just collided with that other vehicle. So we may even catch a glimpse of that car that he crashed into, but he's going to turn before then. So he's turning here Nordoff with a cross of Sepulveda. Yeah, officers are asking to re-engage, taking into consideration that he just collided with another vehicle when he was not being followed directly behind. So they don't trust that the tracking mode is working in this case, so they want to re-engage. They want to get directly behind the suspect. Yet again, the airship is still over it, but of course his night sun is off. So if they do go back into regular pursuit mode, then we would see the light come back on from the from the LAPD helicopter as he continues here Nordoff with a cross of Noble. Nordoff with a cross of Kester. He had only one headlight left because he lost one there in the first collision, and I believe he might still have that single headlight operational. I can kind of see the light there coming from the front. And so he's currently Nordoff with a cross of Siege Rose, already collided twice, making a right-hand turn here onto Siege Rose, a residential area of mostly apartment complexes. I missed that, Jack, in your beak. We're good, thank you. Slowing down here at Rayen and Cedros. Gonna be turning eastbound on Rayen from Cedros. A very busy area, as you can see, very narrow. You have vehicles on either side of the street, and you have cars that are trying to make their way through as well. But now he's back on Tobias, which is a larger street, but still relatively small compared to some of the majors here in the area. And he does in fact have that one headlight still left. The left one is the only one he has left. That front one stopped working after he collided with the first vehicle, and then he collided a second time, but it continues to be operational. And he's traveling at about 30 miles an hour on Tobias with a cross of Nordhoff, coming back up to the major here, which is Nordhoff. Wrong way. Okay, so wrong way. Let's see what he does here. Oh, gosh. Oh, very close there, but has managed to get back on the right side of the road. Nordhoff coming up to Cedros, picking up speed yet again, and it's really incredible considering that he's already crashed twice, and this vehicle continues to carry on as if it's got no issues. But now he's come to a stop. Come to a stop here, but is going to continue. So perhaps he was just trying to figure out what he was going to do. This is Willis Avenue from Nordhoff, headed southbound on Willis. Again, a residential area. You can see all of the apartment complexes there on either side of the street, and all of the vehicles that are parked on either side of the road. So a narrow street, to say the least, about 35 miles an hour. Coming back up to Rayen, making a left turn here, just behind this apartment complex. There he is. And I expect him to come back out here onto Cedros. And there he is, back at Cedros. So now he's made a loop around this same area. And usually, in other pursuits that we've covered, when suspects start to circle a residential area like this, it typically is because they are ready to abandon the vehicle and run away on foot. So we'll see if that is what this suspect is trying to do, but he did just circle the same area twice. So we'll see if he does it yet again. You can see that this is a residential area. You see what looks like a little taco stand there. He's handed something to that individual, it seems like. It looked, yeah, like he definitely handed something to that guy and not vice versa. And is now making a turn here on to Nordhoff from Cedros. So that was Tobias that where he stopped at the taco truck, and is now going westbound here on Nordhoff with a cross of Willis. And if you're wondering what is going to happen with that individual that he just handed something to, I can tell you that officers are already heading to him to see what it is that he may have handed him. And I can hear the description of that individual being given out so that they can talk to him about what he may possibly have been given by the suspect. And is now he's now continuing here on Nordhoff, coming up to Burnett Avenue at about 50 miles an hour. Oh, there's the spikes. It looks like he managed to avoid that completely. So he saw that coming up, so he was able to dodge those spike strips there at Sepulveda with a cross of Nordhoff, and is now making a southbound turn on to Sepulveda here. It's a street that he has been on before, and he's traveling at about 40 miles an hour after having already been involved in 2 collisions, 2 hit and runs to be exact. Both can be described as head-on collisions, which is why his front hood is bent the way it is, and he's missing one headlight as well. And again, we believe that this is just a single occupant, a male suspect, but of course we'll confirm that when this pursuit comes to a stop. Cross traffic coming up with a red light. It just turned green, so he should be able to continue on straight through here as he approaches Sepulveda with a cross of chase. Roscoe with a cross of Sepulveda, ran the red there. He's traveling at about 50 miles an hour. They're in the center lane, trying to avoid that slower moving vehicle there. Sepulveda with a cross of Lanark. Going under the train tracks there. We are at Sepulveda with a cross of Stag. Sepulveda and Stag, so I would call this Panorama City. Sepulveda approaching Saticoy now. The officers are conversing about whether or not the tracking mode or surveillance is working in this case. And so what that means is it helping that we are so far back and that we don't have the night sun on? Is it causing the driver to go any slower, causing him to avoid running red lights, etc.? But what they have determined is that it's not helping. He's still continuing to run through red lights, continuing to drive wrong side of the road, high speeds. So I wouldn't be surprised if they canceled the tracking mode here and got behind him yet again. Red light coming up. I'll widen out just a touch so we can see that. It just turned green there for him, so he was able to continue on through. Southbound Sepulveda with a cross apart, still continuing at about 55 miles an hour with a red light coming up. So we'll see what that looks like as he approaches. You see that vehicle putting on its brakes because the light is red. There's quite a bit of traffic and there's pedestrians. Oh, please, please stop. Thank God he did not collide with those pedestrians. This is at Sepulveda and Van Owen. Sepulveda and Van Owen, where that family was simply crossing the street, and this suspect came right up to them. Fortunately, he did not hit any of them. Sepulveda with a cross of LeMay heading southbound. Wow, that was definitely the scariest moment of the pursuit, to say the least. Pulling into the Signature Plaza, looks like a shopping center here at Sepulveda with a cross of the Haynes. You can see the suspect there is on his phone. Just going through the lot here. It doesn't seem like he intended to stop there. He's going to be making his way back out to Victory. Yeah, and you see the suspect there. This is probably the best visuals that we've gotten of the suspect. And it does appear to be, from my vantage point, it appears to be a male. And he is on his phone. Really slowing down here. Halbert with a cross of Victory. He had slowed down there, but is now picking up speed yet again. About 40 miles an hour in a residential area. The units have been pulled off. I've heard that they have pulled those units off completely, but the airship is going to stay overhead and continue to monitor where the suspect goes and what he does. He's currently turning here onto Irwin Street with, again, that single headlight is all he has left. And significant front end damage to that vehicle after colliding twice. There you go. That was just one of our lights here in the helicopter, but we are clear of that now. The vehicle continues here on Columbus, heading northbound, coming up to Sylvan. That was the LAPD airstrip that you just saw go through the shot. A residential area for sure, and coming up here. So the suspect is on the phone as we saw, and it turns out he's on the phone with police, and he has now told them that he will give himself up at the intersection of, actually I won't repeat the intersection, I'll withhold that just to avoid having additional people show up to that intersection. But I can tell you that he has talked to the police. That is who he is talking with on the phone, and he has said that he will surrender at a intersection here in the area, a residential area, and he will turn himself into them there. We'll see if he does. We'll follow him, of course, to said intersection, if he even goes that way, and we'll see if he does give himself up to authorities. At the intersection here of Columbus and Kittredge. Just to recap, if you're just filling in though, stolen vehicle suspect started in the LAPD's Mission Division, I'd say about an hour ago at this point. They attempted to pull the suspect over in this blue Toyota Corolla, older model. The suspect failed to yield. A solo occupant rather in the vehicle, believed to be a male. He's on the phone with police. He says he's going to give up. He already told them what intersection he is going to give himself up at. He's coming up here to Van Owen with a cross of Columbus and is going to merge with traffic here. Van Owen with a cross of Columbus, using that middle lane to get by. Wrong side of the road here, and is turning back in here to a business, a little shopping area here. He's just on the other side of this building, so we should see him pop out here in just a moment. There he goes. It's unclear what he's trying to do, if he's just trying to find a spot. He has said that he will give himself up, so we'll see if this is his location of choice. And he's talking to this person, trying to wave them down. That vehicle just threw something at him. It's unclear what though. The suspect waved him down, and then the other individual tossed an item at the suspect vehicle. But from my vantage point, I couldn't tell what it was. It was something awfully small. And this is at Van Owen with a cross of Sepulveda. He's just waiting to come out here of this shopping area. Going to be turning here onto Van Owen, attempting to make a right-hand turn. Let's see if he does go right, though, instead of left. He does tend to go on the wrong side of the road at times. That was close. He's still signaling to this individual that is behind him in this work truck. So waiting to leave the shopping center here at Van Owen with a cross of Sepulveda. Units are being asked to stop the white van because he threw something at the suspect vehicle. So they need to figure out what he threw. Intersection of Van Owen and Sepulveda, and making a right-hand turn onto Sepulveda, headed north. Now, if you're wondering why we're not seeing any units directly behind the suspect, it is because it was just simply too dangerous to continue to have those units directly behind him, because he was driving so erratically, wrong side of the road, high speeds, running lights, almost hit a family who was simply crossing the street, and collided with two other vehicles as well. So that is why they pulled the units off. This is an airship-only pursuit northbound on Sepulveda approaching Sherman Way. The suspect has been on the phone with authorities. He says he is going to give himself up at a location that he selected. And I can tell you that it's not too far away if he's in fact going to do that. We won't give the intersection out just out of an abundance of caution. But I can tell you that we are going to follow him to that intersection. We'll see if he stops. But since he said he was going to pull over, that is when we saw him almost run a car off the road. And then we also saw him have that exchange with that white work van where the person in the work van threw an item at him, but it's unclear what that item may be. The police are actually trying to track down that work van right now to ask that person what that item was. And the suspect continues here northbound Sepulveda coming up to Saticoy. There are no black and whites in the area, and the airship is really wide away from the pursuit. So technically the suspect should think that he is no longer being pursued. He doesn't see the black and whites behind him, and he doesn't see the light from the airship either. And he's getting uncomfortably close to this vehicle. It's unclear why. It's not the first time he's done it, too. He did it once before. So it's unclear what his intention is here. Sepulveda with a cross of Lanark under the tracks and coming out on the other side. Go ahead. Pulling into another parking lot, Roscoe and Sepulveda. He's trying to talk to someone here, signaling with his hand. There is this individual here in the white vehicle that the suspect has flagged down. Waiting here to come back out. Talking now to this individual who is standing on the sidewalk. And wrong side of the road here on Roscoe. Headed westbound on Roscoe from Sepulveda, coming up to Langdon. Green light there for him. No units are authorized to be behind the suspect vehicle, and the airship is staying wide with his night sun off so that the suspect will think that the pursuit is over, and hopefully he will slow down his speeds, perhaps even park. Orion is the street situated there next to that vehicle with its hazards on, and continuing here on Orion, just past this apartment complex. Chase with a cross of Orion. A few people standing out here. He tends to talk to people when he does see them standing around, or he's even tried to flag down other vehicles. You have this group of individuals out here, so we'll see if he tries to engage them. This is the intersection of Chase and McLarkin. And you see that fella who was recording it for his social media as the suspect stopped to talk to him. Coming up to another couple here who is on an evening walk, unaware of what's going on, because again, there's no units behind this suspect, so it's you wouldn't know just by looking at the car that it is being pursued, because you're not going to see any units behind him, and you're not going to see the night sun overhead. So currently he's behind a tree here on Langdon, and I can kind of see him creeping up ahead. So creeping southbound here, we have this gentleman who is running next to him, just threw something at him. Langdon with a cross of Chase, going back out to Roscoe at about 25 miles an hour. That Corvette had to slam on his brakes. Intersection of Roscoe and Langdon. He said he was going to surrender to authorities at a location that he selected, and he doesn't seem to be doing that because he's not heading to that intersection. Here at the intersection now, likely going to engage those individuals who are standing out on the sidewalk. And it looks like he actually handed something to that person. Not the first time that we've seen him do that. That bicyclist making his way here through the intersection. And it looks like the suspect may be lighting a cigarette. I can see a little bit of smoke. It does look like he is in fact smoking a cigarette, but it's unclear if that's what that individual just gave him. He's waiting for the light here, Sepulveda and Roscoe, and setting up to go northbound on Sepulveda from Roscoe. But he might change his mind in the middle of the intersection. Now this is really confusing, why he would try to do that. Oh, here we go. This vehicle is actually trying to block him, perhaps? Not advised if that's what this individual is trying to do. So the vehicle is going to continue northbound on Sepulveda. Now, the police officers are describing the person in that pickup as a civilian. So we do not believe that it is an undercover police officer. He is described as a civilian, which if it is a civilian, you are asked not to try to intervene in a pursuit ever, because it not only endangers your life, but possibly endangering the lives of other people. As good as your intentions may be, it is best to just let the authorities take care of things and let the authorities bring the vehicle to a stop rather, instead of getting involved. But I'm going to widen out just a touch. I believe that that vehicle may still be following him, and sure enough, we still see that dark blue pickup following the suspect vehicle as it continues Sepulveda with a cross of Parthenia. You may not know, huh? Yeah, the person in that pickup may not know that this suspect is involved in a pursuit. He may just simply be following him because he saw him driving erratically and is perhaps trying to alert the authorities about this reckless driver. But the suspect just ran a red light there, so I doubt that the pickup would have ran the red light as well. But he'll likely try to catch up here, I'm sure. And there he is, already caught up to the suspect vehicle, Sepulveda with a cross of Nordhoff. And I would strongly advise the person in that pickup to not run the red light here the way that the suspect is doing. stale red here. Intersection of Sepulveda and Nordhoff with oncoming traffic. No units in the area. The airship is nice and wide, so the suspect should know that he is not being pursued based off of those factors. But he continues to drive erratically. Sepulveda with a cross of Nordhoff, and that blue pickup still directly behind him. The suspect is waving. You can see his hand there. Windshield wipers on for some reason. I do not see anything in the suspect's hand. The officers are actually concerned about whether he may have a gun, but I do not see one in his hand. Just kind of weaving in and out of traffic here. Nordhoff with a cross of Sepulveda, eastbound on Nordhoff. You see the pickup right behind him. At this point, the officers believe that's a civilian who is for some reason trying to intervene in this pursuit. And continuing here, eastbound on Nordhoff, the pickup still behind him, but again, no units. There are no units authorized to be behind the suspect vehicle, and the airship is not allowed to have his light on. So at this point, the suspect should technically think that he is no longer being pursued, but he continues to drive erratically. Nordhoff with a cross of Columbus. This is becoming increasingly concerning because now you have regular civilians who are trying to intervene in what they may not even know is a pursuit. They may think that they're just trying to stop a reckless driver who obviously has damage to the front side of his vehicle. So perhaps they're thinking this person was involved in a hit and run, which he was. He was involved in 2 hit and runs of 2 other vehicles, and his headlight actually turned back on somehow. One of the lights had gone out for a good while, for most of this pursuit actually. That seems to be back on. Intersection of Nordhoff and Noble. A little bit of exhaust there, but my pilot's going to give me a slight pedal turn so we can get rid of that. There we go. Thank you very much. My pilot, Derek Bell, up here, of course, doing a great job. He's doing a great job, too, of letting me know when the lights coming up are red so that I can widen out the shot and show you as the suspect vehicle approaches that intersection. Nordhoff with a cross of Lamona. The suspect now being pursued what is believed to be a civilian vehicle. Officers on the scanner expressing how concerned they are that this civilian in this blue pickup may get hurt by involving himself or herself in a situation where you simply don't know whether the suspect is armed, what his intentions may be. And of course, we've been following him for the past almost hour and a half. We know what he is capable of. We know that he's desperate. But the person behind him may not know that, may not know that this is even a pursuit. Officers are no longer in communication with the suspect. They do not have him on the phone. The officers are concerned, though, that if the suspect comes to a stop and he has a gun, that the civilian who is following him may be in incredible danger, which is understandable. Now, the LAPD's Mission Division is now authorizing 4 units to engage the pursuit yet again. He's at the intersection of Tupper and Willis at a slow rate of speed, about 15 miles an hour, a residential area, with that pickup still behind him. It's unclear what that person's intentions may be, if he's simply trying to bring this pursuit to a stop, or if he doesn't even know that this is a pursuit and he's just trying to intervene rather. But he's here at Tupper and Cedros, a residential area. What is believed to be a stolen vehicle, a blue Toyota Corolla, an older model with a single occupant inside. Approaching Van Nuys Boulevard, which is the major here. Just on the other side of this apartment complex, and he just made a southbound turn onto Van Nuys Boulevard. Officers are asking if they are going to be authorized to pit. And we continue to have this vehicle follow the suspect. You see the police units that are now going to engage this pursuit. You see their lights on. The pit has been approved, so we may see that shortly, especially at these speeds. Tupper with across of Van Nuys. Dodge Ram pickup is the one that is following him. They're getting the plates for the pickup so they can run that and figure out who that is. Yeah, so he's going to go behind, under us here for just a moment. The officers need the pickup to move out of the way, but they're concerned because he's not. But they have the plates. They're running the plates right now to figure out who that individual may be. And exactly, yeah, why isn't he pulling off? The lights and sirens are on. He should be yielding. It almost looks like he's setting up to do a pit. The way that he approached the rear of the vehicle there. This is his chance to get away from the situation. He has followed the suspect vehicle long enough, and there you go, is pulling off there, but maybe trying to block the suspect now. So it looks like he's trying to get ahead of the suspect to box him in. But sir, your services are not necessary. The LAPD has this. They're ready to take this person into custody. They're ready to do a pit maneuver. They've obviously been trained. We need this pickup to just pull off this pursuit completely. There is a large crowd of civilians that has gathered. We have people approaching. He's trying to hand something to these individuals. NOC from Alpha. Perfect. Back live here, guys. This is what has happened in the last few seconds. There is a large group of people that has gathered, and for that reason, the LAPD actually just approached the vehicle in a fashion that I haven't seen before. They simply walked up to the vehicle and pulled the suspect out. So that suspect is now being taken into custody. And I can tell you actually that officers are pulling off to follow the other car. So we're gonna go after the other vehicle now. Up ahead. This suspect, or I shouldn't call him a suspect, but he was the person that was in that pickup following the suspect vehicle. He took off when the suspect was taken into custody. So now we have these officers trying to pull over this person, and citizens are reporting that the person in this truck may have a gun. So because of that, I'm going to widen out the shot just a touch. As they attempt to take this person into custody. They already got the first suspect in custody without incident here on Nordhoff with across of Kester. But now we have this additional suspect who is being asked to come out of the vehicle. His door is open, hands are up. But again, remember, People say that he may be armed. They thought they saw that he had a handgun, so they have to be very careful about this one. The suspect, though, I don't know if I should be calling him a suspect, but this individual appears to be complying, walking backwards towards the officers. This was the person that was attempting to pull over the original Toyota Corolla, and then he started blocking him from the front. So they are now attempting to pull over this individual. They want to talk to him to figure out what his role was in all of this and why he decided to chase the suspect vehicle. Go ahead. Nordhoff and Kester. So it's Nordhoff and Kester. It's we're currently at Nordhoff and Kester, just on the north side, and then the incident is just south of here. So I will, I can get everything in one shot here just in a moment. You got it, perfect. So the original vehicle is stopped east of here, and now we have this additional vehicle near Nordhoff and Kester. The officers have to check to make sure nobody is inside the car, to make sure that this was the only person inside. And I mean, what a turn of events. This person was trying to stop the original suspect vehicle. However, the way he was getting involved and then simply took off once the officers took the first suspect into custody, that is why they started following this individual. And he went about 2 blocks before pulling over and now being taken into custody by the LAPD. People who were on the sidewalk, though, they said that this person had a gun, which is why officers had to be extra careful. And you can see now that this one officer is putting the handcuffs on this individual. Once he's done doing that, they'll help him up and walk him back to a patrol vehicle. And then, of course, they will talk to this person and ask him, of course, why he got involved and what his role may have been in all of it. Of course, you are asked if there's ever a pursuit, do not get involved. The best thing you can do is to pull over to the right, wait for the pursuit to go by, and then merge back with the traffic when it is safe to do so. Don't ever get involved the way this individual did, because as you can see now, he is in police custody. Now that he's secure, I'm going to widen out the shot so we can look at the big picture. So this is Nordhoff that we're looking at with a cross of Kester. The original pursuit came to a stop closer to Willis. So Jamie, if you're listening, closer to Willis is where the original vehicle came to a stop, and the second vehicle came to a stop at Kester. That vehicle, the original one, has also been cleared. There are no other suspects inside, and you can see the large crowd that has gathered. These are the people that the LAPD was concerned about when the pursuit came to a stop, which is why they had to approach the vehicle when they did and pull the suspect out. So now you see the vehicle on the move, and it's because an officer is now behind the wheel, getting it out of the way so that they can reopen the street and start their investigation. So that right there will be Willis with a cross of Kester. Officers are actually asking for crowd control because we have all of these people out on the sidewalks. This is a pursuit that has been going on now for over an hour and a half. So, of course, people have heard about it. They heard that it was coming to their neighborhood. And, of course, they heard all of the sirens when it finally came to a stop here on Nordhoff with a cross of Willis. And then shortly thereafter, just about 2 blocks away,